Today I found out something exciting and I want to share it with you. Everything that happens to this stock called Duolingo also happens to Bitcoin. I know what you're thinking. Two totally unrelated financial assets have something in common: the chart, the pricing. But how is that even possible if they have nothing to do with each other? Or maybe they do. Here in front of my screen, you see Bitcoin chart, and you can see that Bitcoin topped in October, and since October, we are heading down. Basically, right now, we went down by 47%, and Bitcoin is continuing to making new lows. If you switch to Duolingo, you will find out that Duolingo also had a very similar run to Bitcoin, but topped slightly earlier, at around the beginning of June. And since then, it's collapsing down, and right now, it went down by around 83%. However, during the downturn, Duolingo had a great upside from September 8 to the October 10 and made 32% and then continued down. Bitcoin, on the other hand, had exactly the same move up. However, it happened later. It happened from November 21st to the beginning of January. Very similar and comparable move, but on different dates. If you come back into the past, we also see something very interesting. Here in 2024, we basically were making these waves. The first wave, the second, the third wave, we made a deeper bottom, and from there we jumped up. Bitcoin, on the other hand, had 1, 2, 3, 4 waves, made a low. However, it was the exactly same low, kind of a double bottom, and then continued up, right? A very similar pattern. But Duolingo did it before. Duolingo bottomed the 2nd of August, and already by September, it made 85%. Bitcoin, on the other hand, bottomed in September, and the biggest gain happened in November and made 74%. Again, very similar profit. However, Duolingo jumped even more. In fact, Duolingo went up by 200% before it collapsed due to Trump's tariffs. Bitcoin, on the other hand, went on a run for 100% and then as well collapsed with the Trump tariffs. This collapse happened at exactly the same time as it happened to Duolingo. If we come back to the same waves from 2024, we can see that Duolingo started to make them earlier. The very first wave happened at the end of December 2023. The second wave happened in March, and the third wave happened in June. Bitcoin, on the other hand, was late, with the first wave in April, the second in June, the third in July, and the last one in August. Basically, the most interesting fact that I found was the beginning of the previous cycle. Duolingo made a final bottom right here on the 28th of December 2022, and from there started its huge run up. In fact, Duolingo went up by about 150% just in the first half year of 2023. While Bitcoin started its run in January, the first wave started in December, and already by the beginning of December, Duolingo was up by about 25%. On the other hand, Bitcoin started its run only second to third week of January, and the run lasted slightly longer until the end of January. But Duolingo again was first. So we can see so many different similarities, which basically tells us one thing. If we simply observe Duolingo's price action and invest in Bitcoin, would it be a successful strategy? Now, if we did it in the last 4 years, yes, it's always easier to talk about the historic performance rather than predict the future. But there is one caveat, and that caveat is that Duolingo is a tech stock. Tech stock move particularly fast with the liquidity that enters the market. So when the liquidity enters the market, when there's a good economic condition, tech stocks actually run first. And then people who already made some money with the tech stocks or with the stock market, we all know that stock market has much more money backed in than cryptocurrencies. Then people put this money into crypto. Now, every tech stock is different, but I found that Duolingo's chart is particularly similar to Bitcoin, and what happens to Duolingo then happens to Bitcoin. Exactly this crash also happened to Bitcoin, but basically it was forecasted by the Duolingo stock already months in advance. Now, how can we know that? We use the cycle indicators. Right there on Duolingo, it was pretty clear that here in May, we're topping on the 1-week cycle and we can expect a local top. Then the 2-weekly cycle broke basically right there. Once we started this move down, the 2-weekly cycle broke, so it was clear that we are gonna go down. Bitcoin, on the other hand, was still making the move higher, right? So that was kind of the first stop in May. But then we consolidated and continued higher until we made this 2-weekly cycle top. Right here was the final top of the market. Okay, from there, we are going down. In fact, we're going down for around 9 months. It's been crazy. If you're in the market, if you're watching this video, you're going to make so much money, like so much money, ridiculous amount of money, because you will not be afraid to risk. Most people will be afraid to risk because the market goes down for 9 months. You must be insane to invest in such kind of market, okay? Now, we're catching longs, we're catching shorts. Potentially, we're not making that much money right now this year because it's been a hard market. We mostly make money from the shorts, and I know that most of you are not comfortable with shorting. But there's one but. If you look at the Duolingo's chart, and Duolingo is just a proxy, you can also look at a stock market. We are so damn oversold. We are very, very oversold. I understand this 3D cycle is at the top, and potentially Duolingo can make one more low together with the stock market before it continues high. I'm very aware of it. But I'm also aware that 2 weekly cycle indicator was already at the bottom since last year, September, or even end of August. 1 week cycle is pointing up. So 1 week cycle will probably reverse down and then continue up. And we are going to have a really great time for many stocks, including Duolingo and also Bitcoin. Bitcoin is in its bottoming phase. We spent 2 months in this box. Everybody got tired. Nobody made money. Right now, the 3-day cycle indicator together with the 1 day is almost touching 20. If you've been following my channel, or if you've been following cycles, you know that this is a bottoming pattern. And from there, we're gonna start our move up. 1 week cycle pointing up, 2 week cycle pointing up. 2 week cycle already broke. So we already had that shitty period in the market where everything went down. The 1 week cycle broke once, twice, and barely touched 80 the third time. We had very bad periods from 1 week cycle. That's already in the past. We survived that. Right now, it is the time to actually accumulate crypto. So from the next 4 hourly bottom, regardless of the price, I'm going to buy a lot of cryptocurrencies. I'm telling you right now, so you know my position. I'm going to get long in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and potentially a couple of altcoins that I believe. I don't like to spread my capital over many altcoins, but I like to allocate bigger portions of the capital when I'm comfortable with my positions. And to be fair with you, it's very rare situation that cycles align that well. Right now, 3-day is going to enter the bottom within the next few days, potentially 2nd of April. Last time we had the same situation was in the beginning of January. However, it was a bearish phase, but still, Bitcoin and the whole crypto market managed to go up by 11%. In bullish market conditions, that would be 80 to 90%. If you have that confidence, you can actually allocate much more money into the trade. That's what I do. There are a couple of trades per year that I do that actually pay all my bills. And this is one trade that it's incoming right now this week. So even if Bitcoin crashes down to $58,000, that would be just another confirmation that I have to enter the market. I'm not afraid to go down to 45 because we are not going there. The chance to go to 45 or 40 right now, it's extremely low. The chance to go to 58, it's still there. And I'm really not afraid to go lower, make some kind of a fake out of this box, and then continue higher into the mid of April. Now, again, not expecting 90, but if we reach 80, 82, I would be totally fine. And right there, we're going to make a top and we're going to reverse back down. Yes, we are going to reverse back down. In the summertime, we're going to do one more up and then one down again. We are going to do something like this for Bitcoin. I cannot now forecast next half a year in advance, but by the end of August, we will be somewhere here. We're going to get rejected. We're going to go down. If you're in the long position, don't close them now. Don't sweat either. Increase them by the upcoming 4-hour low. If you're in the strategy master community, you know how to use the cycle indicators. You know when to buy and when to sell, and you have that patience. If you're not yet part of the community, if you don't have these indicators that I have here in the chart, you go to strategymaster.io, you click get a subscription, basically subscribe button at the top right corner, or you simply click gift a subscription. You subscribe. Once you get your subscription on Strategy Master, you're gonna get access to those indicators, and those indicators show you which direction market is going. Market forecast works only if you have multiple confirmations, and right now I have a very, very fair confirmation from the USDT dominance. I want to show you one thing. USD dominance, it's at the very, very top. Okay, on the 2023 August, we were actually at 8.4%. Right now, we are at the 8.1%. Okay, basically at the same level. We haven't seen this level since years. In fact, we've never seen this level except in 2023 and now. You want to see what happened in 2023? September to be exact? This. An expansion phase. A phase where people just throw the money in the market and everything goes green. And this is coming for crypto. It won't stay for months. It will be a very short period of time, but the whole market goes higher. And explanation is very simple. There's plenty of money sitting in a stable coins right now. And when there's plenty of money, the first people who start deploying make the most amount of money. And cycles confirm this. The 2-weekly cycle started to go down. 1-weekly cycle is going down, and 3-day is currently pushing up. Within a few days from now, the USDT dominance is going to collapse. People are going to start deploying money into cryptocurrencies because there's a lot of money sitting in the cryptocurrencies right now. There's a lot of free dollars right now in the market, and people have to put them somewhere. They're going to put them into cryptocurrencies. And if you don't believe me, just wait a couple of weeks and see the market starting to pump up. If you don't want to miss it, simply buy at the 4-hour cycle low. If you don't know how to find a 4-hour cycle low, you subscribe to Strategy Master and subscribe to Honest KOL channel. Thank you very much for watching. Let's make money in this market and see you in the next one.